welcome back to our three-part film chat series. My name is Raymond Arturo Perez. I'm a Mexican-American television writer, and I am so happy to be back again. If you were here with us yesterday, we had an amazing conversation with two television writer-producers, Cristina and Jorge, and we got into the nitty-gritty, and I hope that... No, I know we're going to do the same thing today with Omar Camilo and Benji Lopez for today's conversation about the hurdles that they faced in this industry. If you missed yesterday's conversation and you want to check that out, you can go on to our website, cineyouthfest.org, and maybe you watched the whole thing and you just want to watch it again. Go check it out. Without further ado, here's a little bit more about me in case if this is your first time seeing me.
Raymond Arturo Perez describes himself as a Mexican-American brown nerd from San Antonio, Texas. His friends and family can attest to these facts. He earned his nerdom 7 years in band as an alto saxophonist and 2 years as a drum major. He considers himself a late 90s, early 2000s gay Latino Drew Barrymore, in that his characters often think they have to be like the cool kids, only to discover that their power is in being their authentic nerdy selves. Raymond received a BS in radio, television, film, and BBA in marketing from UT Austin in 2014, and received a Master of Fine Arts in screenwriting from the American Film Institute in 2019. As a queer Latina writer, Raymond aims to further drive representation in film and television by telling stories of Latinx, queer people, and other underrepresented and historically marginalized communities. He was a staff writer on the second season of Netflix's original series, Selena. He was a playwright and producer at the 2018 Brown and Out Fest in LA. Raymond was recently selected as a finalist for the inaugural Stars #Take the Lead Writers Intensive for his pilot, Chola Mom. In 2021, his pilot, The Only Gay in Waco, placed him as a finalist for the inaugural Out Loud list. When he isn't writing at his kitchen table, he can be found on the dance floor dancing to salsa, Brazilian funk, cumbia, merengue, and bachata in that order.
Okay. I see where some of those photos are from. And if there's one thing they should get from that package is I love to dance. So if you see me on the dance floor, say hello, join me maybe. Anyway, before we begin our conversation, let me tell you about the power of HITN TV and Tú Cuentas. HITN TV is America's leading Spanish language non-commercial television network, servicing over 35 million households in the United States and Puerto Rico with high quality educational and entertaining content. Tú Cuentas Cine Youth Fest is your creative stage powered by HITN. We're not just a festival, we're a thriving community of storytellers committed to shaping a more inclusive future in the film industry, both behind and in front of the cameras. And if you're curious about this year's competition, I highly encourage you check out our website, cineyouthfest.org, where you can check out all of our official selections this year. And I encourage you to do that today between now and Monday, because on Monday, October 16th, we'll be announcing our 3 winners for this year's festival. Join us at Tu Cuentas Cine Youth Fest, where every story matters. Today's talk, I'm excited to get Omar Camilo and Benji Lopez here. They're going to be talking about breaking barriers, navigating hurdles for Latinos in Hollywood, which is going to focus on the critical area of representation and inclusion in film. Today, 8 years since the #OscarsSoWhite movement started in 2015, 81% of Academy Award voters are white and 32% are female. Progress has been made over the last 8 years, but not nearly enough. And today we're going to explore the implications of that data and get a little bit more information about Benji and Omar's own personal stories in their career. So without taking any more time, let's go ahead and meet our first guest, Benji Lopez.
Benjamin Lopez, also known as Benji Lopez, is an award-winning director from Puerto Rico with 8 feature films under his credit. His directorial debut was an adventure film titled Taínos in 2005. He then made the creative transition to comedy, creating the highly successful franchise Mi Verano con Amanda. Later on, he joined forces with Guacamaya Films in Honduras, creating Quien Paga la Cuenta, the highest-grossing film in the country. The romantic comedy Amor en 266 Millas, and the coming-of-age comedy Mixtape, a finalist in Cinequist Film Festival 2022, and Dances with Films were released in 2022. He is currently developing a few projects. Among them is El Hombre de la Casa, an Afro-Caribbean story in Puerto Rico. Wait, we can't forget the interesting fact. He didn't come into filmmaking the conventional way. Growing up, his passion leaned more into the music side of art, so much so that at 15, he became the lead vocalist for the rock group Tabaco and released 2 albums to great acclaim. Bravo!
Wow. Howdy, Benji. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really think it's awesome when people are able to play not just in drama and comedy, but what's special about you is you're also a musician. Mm-hmm. How does music inform your art?
It shapes a lot of my style in terms of creativity, subjects, inspiration, rhythm in editing. Even the music that I use in the movies is very inspired in my taste, my personal taste. So it makes a difference to be a musician. You probably will give you a better or different perspective when you're telling a story. Even when I shoot a film, I'm thinking about the music. So
right,
it's there all the time.
That's awesome. I'm excited to get into our conversation, but before we do, I'd like to introduce Omar Camilo.
Omar Camilo is a creator and winner of 3 Emmy Awards as director and editor, including 6 nominations by the Television Academy in 2017 and 2021. For more than 20 years, he has worked as a director, producer, cinematographer, and editor in film, radio, and television. His documentary La Mujer Maravilla sobre Ruedas has been seen in more than 18 countries in the Americas through the DOC TV Latin America series. His web series Mundo Breve, which presents unique stories from Puerto Rican filmmakers, was nominated in the director category at the prestigious Emmy Awards and has received more than 50 official selections to film festivals worldwide, resulting in 26 international awards, including HBO New York Latino Film Festival and the 35th Chicago Latino Film Festival. Omar Camilo believes it does not matter the size of the idea or the dreams because everyone has ways to achieve it. You only need to follow the path and always have a winning attitude.
Howdy, Omar.
Hi, ¿cómo estamos? Yo voy a hablar en español hoy aquí contigo, pero tú me entiendes. Así que yo te entiendo en inglés, tú me entiendes en español. Estoy bien feliz y bien contento de estar aquí con ustedes.
Yes, thank you for being here. As Omar just said, I'll be primarily speaking in English, but we'll be listening and communicating with one another throughout this whole conversation. I wanted to ask you one question before we jump into our conversation today, and ask, how do you your work covers radio, television, and film. How do you know where a story sits?
Pues realmente a nivel comercial siempre depende de la necesidad, pero definitivamente hay historias que son demasiado grandes para el medio, por ejemplo, de la televisión o de la radio. Bueno, en la radio, anyway, visualmente no puedes contar nada, pero hay historias que solamente se pueden contar a nivel cinematográfico.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Um, let's go ahead and bring Benji back in.
Saludos, Omar.
Saludos, Benji.
Our first question today, again, reminding our audience, we're talking about breaking barriers, navigating hurdles for Latinas in Hollywood. Our first question today is about the Oscars So White campaign, which encouraged industry professionals to address the lack of representation and inclusion. In what ways do you all think that the industry professionals themselves, both those in front and behind the camera, can help break barriers and promote increased representation and inclusion for Latinas?
I think, first of all, our stories in terms of movies, in terms of TV series, in terms of documentaries, they have to go mainstream. It has to be for everybody in terms of like reaching the most people we can, because sometimes it's treated as a niche. Let's put it that way. So we as filmmakers need to find a way, and I'm talking about Latino filmmakers, to make our stories very mainstream. Therefore, I think it will have a reaction after, because while we were talking behind camera, we were talking about how many voters from the Oscars are white, and sometimes they don't have contact with our content because it doesn't probably relate to them. So we need to find a way to make more noise and to reach more people in the mainstream, and in order to get more representation at an event like the Oscars. That's what I think.
Pues yo creo, estoy de acuerdo con Benji en gran parte de lo que dice, pero igual yo lo que he visto en general es que cuando tú cuentas tus propias historias, no importa de dónde vengas, seas francés, seas inglés, seas indio, resulta en una buena película, o en una película que la gente quiere ver si es bueno como tal. No importa de dónde venga la historia. Si es auténtico, si es algo que no, ¿verdad? Que no estás imitando siempre va a tener mejor resultado. Pero definitivamente, o sea, si lo vienes a ver, como bien dice Benji, desde el punto de vista de quienes votan, ¿verdad? De quienes votan por esas premiaciones, en el caso de los Óscares, pues sí, obviamente no hay una representación latina en esa parte, ¿verdad? Que sepamos. Pero sí, definitivamente yo creo que la clave siempre va a estar en eso, en contar nuestras propias historias. Es especial. Nosotros no vemos a los franceses imitando el tipo de películas que un norteamericano hace. O no vemos a un inglés haciendo el tipo de película que los norteamericanos hacen en Hollywood. So que ellos no buscan hacer un tipo de película en particular para verse representados. Ellos hacen su cine o ellos hacen lo que hacen. Depende del cristal con que se mire. Es una realidad que no estamos representados con respecto a lo que poblacionalmente somos, ¿sabes? Y representamos en números en la nación norteamericana. Eso en definitivo es un hecho, es un fact. ¿Cómo cambiar las cosas? Pues yo creo que contarnos, mientras más nos contemos a nosotros mismos desde sin etiquetas, más simplemente por lo que somos todos seres humanos. No hay manera de que un norteamericano no se sienta identificado con algo que simplemente le va a pasar por ser humano.
I completely agree. I think for my own writing and for younger folks coming into their writing path, to what you two have said, the more specific you get, the more it becomes about the relationship. And the closer you get to your work, to where it becomes about the relationships that the main character has with the people around them, the more people can relate. So I feel like I really champion the fact that you guys are so specific, and it's so much about the people around you.
Yeah.
On the flip side, the next question is about what can consumers can help champion work like ourselves and other Latina artists.
I think the main public has to venture a little bit more into new narrative. I'm going to put the example of my mother. My mother lately has been watching movies from South Korea. So once she discovered those narratives, she has been attracted to them. So I guess the same happens with our stories. People need to venture a little bit more to discover new narratives, new stories. That way, our voices will be heard a little bit more. But it's hard to change the mindset of the people, the consumers. Once they like something, they tend to like go and search for the same thing. So it's hard to venture out that comfort zone. I guess we need to make more noise using our music artists, for example. The music has achieved that. The example of Bad Bunny, everybody listens to Bad Bunny anywhere in the world. So he could be a vehicle to help promote our culture. And not only Bad Bunny, any artist, any Latino artist, Mark Anthony and Mexican ranchero bands, everybody can try to use the vehicle of music and promote the culture. I'm guessing that our movies will be exposed to more people that way. So that's a solution, I guess.
Omar, how about you?
Pues yo lo veo, el ejemplo de la música es fantástico porque nosotros, por ejemplo, en Puerto Rico somos vistos usualmente por el norteamericano, no somos vistos como norteamericanos, aunque seamos parte de, somos ciudadanos americanos, políticamente hablando. Pero por los latinos entonces tampoco somos vistos como latinos. Y de alguna manera, históricamente somos ambas cosas, ciudadanos americanos, pero somos parte de Latinoamérica. Y la música, como él bien dice, siempre ha superado, para nosotros como puertorriqueños, siempre ha superado esas barreras. En el cine, pues nos falta mucho por recorrer. Por ejemplo, y retomando lo de los Óscares, nosotros los puertorriqueños, hasta lo que le pasó a Santiago en el 89, 90, no recuerdo, participábamos como parte de la categoría de cine extranjero, aún siendo ciudadanos americanos. Entonces, hoy día, desde hace no sé cuánto tiempo, desde hace unos años para acá, ahora no somos parte de esa categoría y tendríamos, si queremos competir en un Oscar, tendríamos que entrar como dentro de las categorías regulares. Tenemos siempre esa dificultad, pero para poder seguir empujando, seguir haciendo, yo creo que lo que estabas muy bien reforzando ahorita tú cuando hablabas de lo que tú escribes, de cuando escribes, de ser de que lo específico nos hace auténticos y nos hace también universales, es definitivamente, yo creo que la llave para poder llegar poco a poco, que nos vamos a seguir mezclando todos, porque todos somos humanos al final del camino.
Our next question is that the fact that increased representation and inclusion for Latinas have provided expanded opportunities for individuals at every level. In y'all's opinion, how can this shift help benefit and enrich the industry itself? And looking forward to the future of our industry, what are the benefits for emerging artists coming up?
I think it will grow little by little. It is already happening. I can see a lot of people taking important positions. Let's put the example of our buddy Angel Manuel Soto. He just recently directed and shaped the first superhero movie with Latino flavor for Warner Brothers, which is Blue Beetle. That is the first. We haven't seen that before. So that means studios are taking note. Of course, this is like a casting and it's a debut. It will reflect where the audience stands in this. Are they gonna embrace it? Are they gonna like it? If that happens, then I will probably say with a lot of confidence that it will keep happening. They will make more.
Yeah, I think especially since you pointed out Blue Beetle, the last question about what can consumers do on their end, because at the end of the day, show business is a business. When a studio greenlights a film like Blue Beetle that has a Latino superhero for the first time ever, they're saying, okay, does this money, the amount of money that this movie makes is going to determine whether we make the second one, whether
Right.
we bring a Latina superhero, whether we continue on this adventure for DC Comics, or we stop and focus on something else.
It's hard,
So
but
it's hard because it ends up putting a lot of the pressure
a lot of pressure,
on
yeah.
the community.
But let me say something, Raymond. I never like the word the phrase come and support us. I always say that us as creators, the architecture of the created stuff that we're doing needs to seduce everybody. Because when you say come and support us, I always feel like it's a little like begging. I rather do something very attractive for everybody. So I always say, whenever you come up with a project, think about the wide scope, wider audience. Think about how is this going to relate to that white mom that lives in Arkansas. You know what I mean? Somehow.
Y por eso mismo es que volvemos a lo mismo, o sea, la raíz es contarnos a nosotros mismos no por ser latinos, no por ser negros, no por ser blancos, sino porque somos humanos.
I feel like we're seeing a little bit of that with like Jenna Ortega. Jenna is choosing these fun stories. She's, spearheading the Scream franchise. She's in the Addams Family,
right.
And she's not saying beg. She's doing her thing. She's choosing the good stories, right. And people are going to see good movies and good television. Mm-hmm. I have a question for Benji from one of the students watching. He wants to know, how did you navigate the transition from your work on Amor to subsequent projects while maintaining your distinctive voice? Could you share your approach to securing funding for innovative projects, especially when starting without the backing of an established production company?
That's a wide question. Okay, let me try to answer that. In terms of creative choices that I do or I make for whatever topic I'm choosing to shoot or write off, I think it depends on the time in my life where I am at. For example, Taínos, which was the first movie that I did, was a creation based on experiences that I had when I was a teenager in high school. Because I remember there was this big event in my hometown Comerío where they discovered some Taino Indians buried in the baseball field, and I was very curious. I went there to see what was going on. I even got the chance to hold a brush and just sweep a little bit of dirt over the bones, and I think that created an impression on me. So when I wrote the first film, I still had that very fresh in my mind. So it was based on that. The question was, what if the Taínos were alive in these days? So that's how I got the inspiration for that film. And I always thought it would be an action type of thriller type of drama film. So that's how it came. But then after that, when I went to college, I was partying with my friends. We were having a good time, chasing girls, drinking beers, having fun. So that's how I came to be inspired from Mi Verano con Amanda. It was based on the experiences I had with my friends, going at the beach, saying stupid things, funny things. Very us, very Puerto Rican. So and I think at that period of my life, which I was just thinking about hanging out, that was the inspiration. But later on came came Quien Paga la Cuenta, which is a movie that was prompted to me. Like they told me, well, can you write a movie about credit card debt? And I was like, but what do you mean? I mean, how does it affect different levels of the society? You know, the poor person, the rich person, etc. So that was the only cue line that I got to write that film. So I started thinking about different stories, and I also was inspired by people from Central America, because I told the producer, okay, you want me to write this? Just interview people. I'm going to give you a couple of questions. So I came up with the 3 different stories. And also from what I have seen around me with my friends, with my people that I know, how they get in debt, how they get out of it, how they use and spend their money, but how that affects your life, you know, as you go along with this narrative. So at the end of the day, the inspiration hits you and you don't know what that's going to be. You know, if you're an artist, you will understand what I'm trying to say. Someday you will be just walking down the street and you will get inspired, and probably it's something dramatic or it's something funny. So it will hit you creatively, and that will make you decide how to navigate or how to express yourself in that very moment of your life.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like something happens and it lingers on you, and then you got to find out why.
Yes.
The second part of the question
Mhm.
is about how you go about securing funding. So more on you've spoken a little bit about more the artistic side, but then how about actually getting from story to
To the
post-production?
screen or
Yeah.
That's
Benji, puedes hablar mucho de eso porque tú has corrido todos los espectros posibles de cómo conseguir.
At the very beginning of my career, I was funded by my producer's mom. Let's put it that way. She believed in us. She lent us some money. We were able to secure additional funding by sponsors, and we kept to our little budget. It was not that much, actually. So I had to figure out a way to make a movie with less money I could. But once you get in that path, things follow up organically. Let's put it that way. Because the second movie I did, I realized that in the first movie I spent too much. So I said, well, if we're going to do a second movie, we cannot spend that much, because we were promising money to the people, and we didn't have that money in the first film. So we had a debt once the movie came out, and we had to find a way to pay it. Thankfully, the DVDs that's Taino back there. The DVDs sold very good, and we were able to pay back the people involved in the movie. But I will never make a movie if I don't have the funding secured. So if it's just a little bit of money that we have in hand, we have to work with that. Don't
Right.
promise money you don't have. So we did the second movie with less money, but I also discovered changing genres. We went from drama, action to comedy. Comedy do very well in Puerto Rico in the theaters. Once we released that film, it actually made money. So that caught the attention of a lot of people. People say, well, Benji cracked the code in Puerto Rico. He's making comedies. The comedies are selling tickets. Let's fund his third film. Mm-hmm. So money came to us. So I always say to young filmmakers or to people that are starting off, that once you make a movie that makes money, the money will follow after that. So luckily after that, I've been able to just bring in the producers. They have been contacting me, offering money to produce my next film. And I've been lucky that way. But it all falls because I took the step in the first place. The first movie, I didn't make money. The second, it did money. And then the third one made a lot of money. So it's a process. It's not going to come from the first try.
Omar, I have a question for you from a student as well. They want to know if you could shed light on your strategies for bringing underrepresented narratives, such as La Mujer Maravilla, Sobre Ruedas, to the forefront of the industry's attention?
Es curioso esa pregunta porque en realidad la Mujer Maravilla sobre ruedas no se da buscando abrir ese espacio de representar una mujer como Ileana en silla de ruedas y con sus condiciones. Realmente se da, yo conozco a Ileana como amiga y la Mujer Maravilla sobre ruedas surge a raíz de una convocatoria de Doc TV Latinoamérica, en donde ellos propusieron temáticamente para unir todos los capítulos de la serie, todos los países, todos los documentales que se hicieran, el tema de la felicidad. Y desde que yo conozco a Ileana hace muchos años atrás, a mí ella siempre me transmitía felicidad, me transmitía una alegría brutal. Y entonces yo quería pues contar una historia cuando coincidió la convocatoria con que ella me estaba contando las cosas que estaba haciendo, cuando nos ponemos al día en las conversaciones, las cosas que estaba haciendo con su vida, y me estaba diciendo que necesitaba una silla de ruedas mejor y que estaba haciendo abrazos en conferencias que daba charlas y cosas así, daba abrazos por $1 al final de cada conferencia y con cada pesito iba recaudando para poder ganar su silla, y que tenía esta idea nueva de poder conseguir más dinero si hacía un abrazo gigantesco, el abrazo más grande del mundo. Y yo digo, ¿y cómo tú haces el abrazo más grande del mundo? Bueno, si lo logro, me gano $10,000 del récord Guinness y con eso me compro la silla. Con eso y lo que tengo ahorrado. Y yo dije, wow, pero todo el tiempo con una sonrisa en la cara. Y entonces yo dije, si yo la logro seguir y logro contar esta historia y transmito la felicidad que ella tiene, más allá de sus limitaciones, pues voy a tener de alguna manera algo exitoso que contar o algo grandioso que contar. Y fue tras eso que fui. Nunca fui pensando específicamente en la representación, so que no hubo una estrategia como tal. Pero definitivamente a la hora de sí pensar en ella por su condición, más bien lo estaba viendo como una forma, como la forma más simple de poderle representar a cualquier persona por sus limitaciones físicas evidentes, las limitaciones que nosotros nos creamos, nosotros mismos, que usualmente nos las creamos desde acá, que nos creemos no poder hacer cosas o no, eso no lo vamos a poder lograr. Así que ese personaje, por sus limitaciones físicas, sí me servía también para ese fin de poder decirle a la gente y decirme a mí mismo en ese momento por lo que estaba pasando, porque yo venía de una crisis personal existencial brutal. Y ella fue como una inspiración para mí. So que yo lo que hice con contar la historia de ella fue un poco contar sobre cómo yo sobrepasé todas esas limitaciones mentales que yo me había puesto en el camino por los cantazos que da la vida, por los golpes que da la vida, y cómo ella superaba cualquier cosa con simplemente querer hacerlo y motivar a otra gente a apoyarla a hacerlo. So que fue más un rebote de la experiencia de la felicidad de ella y de lo que ella contagiaba con eso, lo que nos llevó a hacer la película, que es una estrategia como tal. Pero definitivamente le dimos voz a algo que aquí en muchos lugares del mundo no se les da voz. Así que partimos siempre de la premisa de que estábamos siempre contando la historia de alguien más, de un ser humano normal.
That was a beautiful story, and what it takes me to is taking a step back and looking at the creative process from a distance. How do you know when you're finished creating, and what is a marker of success for your projects?
Yo creo que no hay una marca como tal que uno esté... Por ejemplo, yo empecé haciendo a nivel documental un proyecto que se llamaba Los Capitanes de Arecibo, La Masacre, sobre una serie final de baloncesto en la Liga de Baloncesto Profesional de Puerto Rico que se llama el Baloncesto Superior Nacional. Y yo fui allí como fanático, con equipo, tenía un grupo de gente que me apoyaba. Y yo fui a hablar con los apoderados, los dueños de los equipos, para decirles, miren, yo creo que debemos documentar esta serie, porque esto nunca se ha trabajado de esta manera aquí en Puerto Rico, vamos a hacerlo. Inspirado yo en los Chicago Bulls de los 90 y con Fly With Me, las películas de Michael Jordan y todo ese tipo de inspiraciones que yo veía como fanático del deporte y del baloncesto en particular. Y yo fui apostando como fanático a que mis Vaqueros de Bayamón iban a ganar. Mis Vaqueros de Bayamón fueron barridos en la serie 4-0. No ganaron un solo juego en la serie. Y de antemano, en las conversaciones con los dueños de los equipos, uno de los dueños, el de Bayamón, me dijo, y si nosotros no ganamos, ¿no crees que debes documentar ambos lados para que si ganan los otros tengas una película que contar? Porque si perdemos, ¿qué vas a contar? La película del perdedor. Así que le hice caso, gracias a Dios, y documentamos ambas partes, así que al final tuve un documental que no quería necesariamente hacer porque no eran mis Vaqueros de Bayamón como fanáticos, pero resultó exitoso para los Capitanes de Arecibo, para la gente en las canchas. Se vendió el DVD, en aquel momento era DVD, también era 2005. Se vendió en los videoclubs de la zona a nivel regional. Y yo pues hice algo de negocio, nunca gané dinero como tal, pero nunca perdí dinero en ese sentido porque le hice caso al consejo del dueño de mi equipo favorito. Que no, y eventualmente las otras cosas que he hecho, como Benji también, ha sido por encargo algunas de ellas, que me han pedido documentar cosas específicas, eventos particulares. Más sin embargo, y usando ese mismo ejemplo del deporte, 2 años después lo volvimos a intentar, documentando otra serie final, esta vez de voleibol, pero ahí sí habían cosas históricas que iban a ocurrir. Y ya pensando en la documentación histórica del momento que no se iba a volver a repetir, pues entonces fue que volcamos todos nuestros esfuerzos para que se documentara y se hiciera. Y hablamos con la Federación de Voleibol y se documentó una serie que tenía a la primera mujer siendo voleibol femenino. Toda la vida los dirigentes habían sido hombres. Y esta iba a ser la primera serie final que iba a tener un equipo con la primera dirigente mujer llegando hasta la final. Que si ganaba el campeonato, pues iba a ser todavía más histórico porque era la primera vez una mujer dirigiendo y entonces ganaba el campeonato, lo ganó eventualmente. Y había muchos factores históricos que le abonaban mucho a esa historia a nivel de contenido. Que ahí el contexto histórico tenía mucho que ver. Y bueno, pues a nivel documental, que por ahí va más o menos tu pregunta, pues sí, puede haber un poco de todo, pero las experiencias personales yo creo que son fundamentales, no solamente en el documental, también en la ficción, como también mencionaba Benji ahorita. Porque, de nuevo, volvemos a lo que estuvimos hablando desde el principio. O sea, si tú no cuentas lo que tú sientes, pues te corres el riesgo de no ser exitoso realmente.
Yeah, I think that in what Camilo, I can resume what Camilo or interpret what Camilo just said, is that first, you should not chase success. That will come if it's going to come. If it doesn't, it doesn't. What you should chase, it's inspiration. What inspires you to move or to act over that story? And then if it happens, right? If it does happen that people are related to your story, to your inspiration, it maybe will find success. So how do you know something is good enough to produce? Is when it inspires you so much that you are pushed to do it, or inspired, fired up. That will be the answer to your question from my perspective.
I think that's an awesome way to end our conversation. But is there anything else for the students watching that you'd love to impart to them in terms of going out there and creating, either of you?
Yeah, always be authentic. Always push your vision. Believe in your vision. Also try to say something with your projects, even if it's underlying, even if it's a crazy comedy, you can always say something in your project. Be inspired with what you know. Show the world who you are through your projects. That's my advice.
La película última de Benji, bueno, no última, la más reciente, Mixtape, tiene una línea que cantan los muchachos al final, en la última escena, que tuve el honor de editar. Coincidimos en este evento, ¿verdad?, que estamos hablando con ustedes en Tu Cuenta, y yo fui el editor de esa película de Benji. Y esa última línea decía, believe in yourself. Y es ahí donde radica lo que Benji dice y lo que hemos estado hablando, ¿sabes? Tienes que creer en ti, en lo que te motiva a ti, en lo que como ser humano a ti te mueve. Si no te mueve a ti, de nuevo te corres el riesgo de que no muevas a nadie.
Correcto.
¿Sabes? Yo creo que todo lo que, igual cuando uno está dirigiendo actores, por ejemplo, yo particularmente siempre les hablo de sentir. En el cine, si tú no sientes, te corres el riesgo de estarte viendo overacting.
Right.
Porque se trata de sentir, la cámara está tan cerca de ti que tú no puedes exagerar nada, a no ser que el personaje lo requiera. Es importante creer en lo que te mueve y keep going, echarlo hacia adelante, creer que es posible hacerlo. Si yo hubiese tratado de ser arquitecto porque podía ganar más dinero, creo que hubiesen terminado edificios bien feos. No sé, no hubiese tenido el mismo éxito que haciendo lo que hago. Y al final el éxito es tan relativo como que tú estés feliz con lo que estás haciendo.
Claro.
Y si logras hacer feliz a otro, con tus historias y tus películas y tus cosas, habrás alcanzado la gloria. Pero definitivamente te tiene que mover a ti.
Well, thank you so much, Omar and Benji. Our time is up, but I just want to thank you again for joining us today. And to everyone watching, we're 2 for 2. Yesterday's conversation was fire. Today's conversation was fire. And tomorrow, no doubt, will be another great conversation. We're going to have Santiago Salvice, Fanny Grande. We're going to be discussing unlocking the silver screen, innovative financing strategies for independent Latino film. Thank you again, Omar and Benji, for today's conversation.
Gracias.
Thank you very much. And I wish you the best festival this year on Tu Cuentas Youth Cine Film Festival 2023.
Bye.